Dear student, today we will be discussing part 3 nervous system, in which we will be discussing spinal cord and peripheral nervous system. Spinal cord is a tubular region that extend beyond medulla oblongata of an average length of 45 centimeter to the lumbar region, and spinal cord tapers to a point called conus medullaris and then extend to coccygeal region. It is protected by vertebral column and covered by meninges. The fourth ventricle continue as a canal of spinal cord which is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Now look at the TS or transverse action of spinal cord. So the fissures, okay, posterior and the anterior, they decide the anterior and posterior position. So here this is called dorsal or posterior fission, and this is called ventral or anterior fission. Now you can say the gray matter and white matter are located. So gray matter is organized in the H shape, where in the white matter, and it divides the white matter into different parts like lateral column, dorsal column, anterior column. At the center there is a central canal through which or you can say it is a continuous part of fourth ventricle, and this is filled with the spinal cord, and this is called central canal. Then you can say dorsal horn and ventral horn are located or they are situated in gray matter as a shape of H shape in a H shape gray matter, and the dorsal root, it arises from the dorsal horn, and ventral root from the ventral, and the dorsal root consists of the sensory neurons which are then connected to receptor. The ventral root consists of motor neurons, and they are connected with the effector organ. Now this mass is called ganglion, dorsal root ganglion. Ganglion is actually the you can say collection of cell bodies. So this is how everything is arranged in the spinal cord. Now the spinal cord carries the signals between the brain and the rest of the body. Spinal cord is the highway for communication between the body and the brain. So that's why it is called highway of communication. Now main function is reflex action. What is reflex action? It is the spontaneous, automatic, involuntary and nerve mediated response produced at subconscious level in response to stimulus. A reflex is made possible by a neural pathway called reflex arc, which act on impulse before it reaches the brain. Spinal cord here act as a modulator and convert the sensory impulse to motor. Now what is the significance? Now because of the reflex action, this enables the body to give quick response to harmful stimuli, so minimize the damages to the body. Okay, if the body will not respond quickly, then there may be some part of the body may be get damaged, and it relieves the extra pressure or on the brain. So spinal cord only manages this function. Now let's see reflex arc. It is the nerve path traveled by impulse, and how it travel is important, and it is called as functional and structural unit of reflex action. So look at the path of reflex arc. So the stimulus is received by any sensory organ, okay, called receptor, and this is carried by the sensory nerves. These sensory nerves then reaches the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, this message is processed, okay, and there are interconnecting neurons which are present in the gray matter of the spinal cord, and what they do, they send this message now through the motor nerve. Okay, the motor nerve sends the message to the effector, which are muscle cell, and the effector cell, they respond to stimulus. So this is how the reflex arc is created when the body is subjected to any, you can say, reflex action. Okay. Now we'll see what type of reflex actions are there. There are two types of reflex actions, unconditional and conditional. So let's discuss the unconditional. They are actually inborn or inherited reflex. They evoke immediately after the birth. For example, a child starts sucking the milk. So sucking, that response is actually the inborn response. So similarly, there are so many response of hand or legs to an accidental pinprick. If somebody pinches you, immediately you try to pull your hand back, okay, or if your finger come on some fire, then you immediately get it back. Constriction of pupil in the bright light, knee jerk when tendon just below the kneecap is stuck, salivation of mouth at the thought of good food, paleness of skin or standing of hair as a result of fear or cold, blinking of eyelid when the corona is stimulated by touch or loud sound. Conditional reflexes, they are acquired during lifetime by regular training or learning. For example, ringing of bell and dog starts salivating. This is the famous Pavlov experiment in which the conditioning was done to the dog with the ringing of bell, and it happens sometime with you. At the ringing of the last bell, you start ready with your bags to go out from the school. So that is also kind of conditioning. Okay, so highly skilled movement of aerobics and dance with music. So this is also highly skilled movement, can also be learned, and this is a kind of conditioning. So these are all the reflexes. Now we'll discuss peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of nerves and ganglia outside the brain and spinal cord. The main function of peripheral nervous system is to connect the central nervous system to limb and organ in order to relay information between body parts and central nervous system. So try to understand here the body part and central nervous system. So all the information of from different organs of different you can say metabolic pathway of skeletal muscles, it reaches to the brain, and brain gives the signals what they have to do, how these things are to be regulated. Okay, so information relays there between body part and CNS, and how it is performed. It is performed by the networks of nerve and ganglia, and this comprises peripheral nervous system. So it consists of nerves. Nerves are sensory, motor or mixed. Now the nerves are also classified like these: sensory, motor or mixed, on the basis of how they have originated. So some of them are originating from brain, they are called cranial nerves, and some of them they originate from the spinal cord, they are called spinal nerves. Cranial nerves are 12 in pair, and the 10th nerve is called vagus nerve, which is mixed. Otherwise, the cranial nerves are either sensory or motor, whereas spinal nerves are all mixed and they are 31 in pair, and they arise from the spinal cord, different you can say parts of spinal cord. Now over here, if you see the peripheral nervous system, they involve two things. One is voluntary control and involuntary control both. So voluntary control forms somatic nervous system, and involuntary forms the autonomous nervous system. Somatic nervous system consists of sensory and motor nerves that control the skeletal muscle movement. We have already done this in locomotion and movement. Reflex arc by connecting or transmitting with the brain and spinal cord, whereas the autonomous nervous system is a part of peripheral nervous system that consists of sensory and motor nerves which control visceral function. Visceral means related to internal organs that occurs below the level of consciousness. Then there are certain processes, okay, which are occurring below the level of consciousness. For example, the digestion of food is going on, you don't know whether the digestion is going on or not. Okay, so it control heart rate, digestion, respiration rate, perspiration and papillary dilation. Now the involuntary has two subsystems. One is sympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. So we'll just see what is okay. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system being opposite in action, so they are antagonistic to each other. In action, enable the body to adjust and maintain the steady state rapidly. So our body remains in the steady state because they act antagonistically and maintain the whole system of the body. Now, autonomic system consists of preganglionic fiber, autonomic ganglia, and postganglionic fiber. Now, preganglionic fiber, let's look at in sympathetic and parasympathetic how they are. In case of sympathetic, these preganglionic fiber are short and close to spinal cord and they emerge from the ventral root. In parasympathetic, they are long and terminate in the ganglia lying close to the organ. Now postganglion, if you look, in case of sympathetic, they are long and endergenic. Endergenic means they releases non-adrenaline. Now non-adrenaline is also a hormone and it is also a neurotransmitter. But postganglionic neuron that terminate on the sweat gland releases acetylcholine. Usually what happens, they releases adrenergic, but this is the exception that in case of sweat they releases acetylcholine. In parasympathetic nervous system, they are short and innervate smooth muscle of blood vessels, visceral organs, and they are cholinergic means they releases acetylcholine. So we have discussed different types of neurotransmitter are there. Acetylcholine may be one of the neurotransmitter, adrenaline, non-adrenaline, then dopamine, all these are neurotransmitter and they are present in you can say different part of nervous system to control different functions. Now we'll discuss what is sympathetic and parasympathetic. So first let's discuss sympathetic. It originates in the gray matter of spinal cord in thoracic and lumbar region. Okay, so if you see the origin of parasympathetic, it originates in the brain and lower region of spinal cord, and it also contains that vagus nerve, which is 10th cranial nerve. Now over here in the sympathetic, the ganglia are situated close to spinal cord. We have seen this. This actually the sympathetic nervous system we are talking about. This is commonly known as flight or fight response because this get activated when the person perceives some threat or danger. So the response during emergency, so its response is during the emergency situation, and what it do, it controls the gland of endocrine system and the hormone boosts the body, sending the extra blood to the muscles. So overall it exhibits stimulatory effect. Now if you look at this here, the ganglia are very close or within the effector organ. As we have seen, they bind sometime the smooth muscles or effector other portions. Here it restores the body's state of calm by feed and breathe or rest and digest. So commonly the response exhibited by parasympathetic system is called feed and breathe response or rest and digest response, and it actually works to bring the body's function to the normal. So here what is happening in the sympathetic, it works during the emergency condition, and this bring down those conditions and bring the body to the normal condition. So here the vagus nerve stimulates parasympathetic nervous system to reduce stress, heart rate and blood pressure. Okay, and also causes gastric juice stimulation, gastrointestinal movement and limbic system overall it exhibit inhibitory effect. So we'll discuss. So whenever the body is under the stress, the sympathetic nervous system comes into the play. Okay, and there are certain sequences that happens in the body, but those sequences are not continuing. For example, increase in the blood pressure. Okay, but it will not be for much time. After some time, the parasympathetic nervous system come into play and it bring down the blood pressure to the normal. So sympathetic nervous system, it increases heartbeat, blood pressure, whereas in case of parasympathetic, it decreases heart rate, heartbeat and blood pressure. Sympathetic increases pupil dilation. Here it decreases the pupil dilation or causes the constriction of pupil. Then blood vessels are constrict in case of sympathetic because they increase the blood flow, so blood vessels has to be constrict, whereas it decreases the blood flow, so the blood vessels are dilated. Then sympathetic, it decreases urine secretion and relax the bladder, whereas in case of parasympathetic, it increases and constrict the bladder. Here it decreases the digestion because blood flow is increase and most of the blood it flows through different things, so it is the automatic control. The other processes decreases, so the digestion decreases, and here the and under the normal mode the digestion is increased. So this is how they act antagonistic to each other. Let's see one example. During the emergency situation, sympathetic system increases the heart rate. So heart rate will increase, so blood pressure will increase and the blood flows to the brain. It also constricts the blood vessel supply to digestive tract. Okay, at the same time, slowing their activity. After the emergency is over, the parasympathetic system acts and reverses the action, restoring the normalcy of organ. So this is all about the nervous system. Thank you.